Hello and welcome to Punk Rock Academic, the podcast where the rebellious spirit of punk rock meets the halls of higher education. We dive into the stories of those who break the mold, challenge the status quo, and bring the DIY ethos to academia. I'm Alex Yore, and with me as always is Dallas McCullough, your guide through the intersection of anarchy and academics. Get ready to meet the professors, scholars, and students who are as hardcore about their studies as they are about their music. Let's turn up the volume and tear down the walls of convention. This is Punk Rock Academic. Salutations, Punk Rock Academic, Episode 10. This time we're chatting with Jennie Cotterill MFA. Jennie teaches several courses in the illustration department at Cal State Long Beach. In addition to her teaching duties, she also makes album cover art and even has her own custom cake shop called Jennie Bakes. Jennie has been active in the punk scene for years, singing and playing guitar in the Fat Wreck Chords punk band ex-BadCop from 2011 to 2022. She recently started the band Reckoner with Kyle O'Neill of Fireworks, who released their new track, She Is the Knife, just prior to this episode's release. So stoked that Jennie could fit us in between all her teaching, baking, and shredding. Let's get into it.
Be a video thing or no?
It is. It doesn't have to be. We post it on YouTube as well as like Spotify and everything with the audio. But
okay, so nose picking off the table. Okay,
your call.
Do it when somebody else is talking.
Yeah,
right. Not interested. Okay,
unless you want to flex, just let them know. It's punk rock. It's not fucking orderly, preppy academic. I think nose picking is pretty
like
punk rock.
Tie, but no sleeves. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be very Avril Lavigne.
Maybe, okay, I only listened to the show, but maybe it could be like, you have to do like punk rock professional attire for the video where it's like, again, like tuxedo shirt,
I was thinking it'd be like, like a Ben Sherman that you could wear to like, I've worn it to like an event at Yale, and then I saw the Descendants afterwards, and it's fine with both.
Yeah. Day to night.
That's the ultimate move right there. Probably not the sleeveless Captain Asshole t-shirt, but whatever.
Cool.
Okay.
I can edit that in, if you want to Photoshop the shirt on or something.
Yeah.
A photo of butts or something. Okay.
There we go.
Awesome.
There we go. Or alternatively, since she's got a blank sweatshirt on, you could put like a Sweet Minor Threat logo on it and post.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That doesn't move with me. Okay.
It just stays. It's like, wait a minute.
It's just there.
That's a shop. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how much that's being kept in or whatever, but I think it's funny. So let's roll with this shit. So anyways, normally I do more research. So whoever the listeners are at this point, they will have some amazing introduction about Jennie, about like where you went to school and, your new band, what you guys are doing. I don't know shit. I just know you because you're a tour bud, but like, I'm actually kind of behind the times, and I had no idea you're an educated bum until quite recently.
Well,
so, I guess, so the way I met you was when you were playing at BadCop. I remember meeting you guys in England. We were hanging out backstage. It was Menzinger's, Lagwagon, and Lawrence Arms. I was working for the Lillingtons, and you guys were there, and then we realized that you're from fucking Battle Creek, Michigan, and you went to the same elementary school as my dad, which is quite strange. While we're in England eating Jamaican food at a 2,500 cap room watching the Menzingers play, which is a weird spot to run into somebody from your hometown.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, pretty weird. Did you not go to high school? Where did you not go to school in Battle Creek?
We went to Gull Lake. We're from Bedford, on the north side. Okay.
You both did? Okay. Cool.
We're all three of us are from Battle Creek, Michigan right here. And all three of us have been gone since we were old enough to be gone, but it's still.
So I used to we had this big backyard that extended into like just an open area. And like, there was like a couple times where hot air balloons landed back there. And like, it was like the balloon would be coming and then like children from like every direction would be, like coming to welcome the orb, so I remember that. That's pretty special.
The Festival of Flight, as it's now called, but in our day, it was just the balloon festival at the, totally, that was the rage. Alex, I remember when you were visiting your grandma a few years ago, and she was like, "Oh, be careful about the traffic around there," sort of thing. You're like, "Oh yeah, maybe we should avoid that."
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Coming from the Bay Area, it was like, oh yeah, it's just
Yeah, this is your idea of bad traffic is a little bit different.
Balloon traffic. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was wild, I guess, meeting you in England and knowing that. And then I remember hanging with you guys in like Austria and probably a couple other spots around Europe. And then we were staying with you when I was with Make War, when we were in California a couple of years ago and eating burritos and hanging out. And yeah, so it was quite recently when I started doing this, when Edwin was like, dude, hit up Jennie. She's a professor. I'm like, what? Jennie's a fucking professor? Like, I've known her for years. This has never came up in any capacity. I knew you from BadCop, but now you're in Reckoner, which we also need to dive into because that looks like it's pretty fucking cool stuff. But let's just start. So, okay, we established your name's Jennie. You're from Michigan originally. You've been in California for how long?
Since 2001.
All right. So, been a hot minute. And it was at school that brought you out there originally?
Oh my gosh. I was just trying to escape. I said it was school because at the time, community college was like $15 a credit, which is bananas and awesome. So, and I wasn't good at school. I had weird, self-defeating thoughts about education at the time. I was like, I'm gonna move. I'm tired of being cold. I don't know what I'm doing here in Michigan. So, and I knew someone from high school who lived out there. So I was just like, I'm going to move in with Leah. Let's figure it out. And I was going to community college and I kind of lucked out. I ended up at a really good one. Actually, they're all pretty good, but the one I ended up at was Saddleback College, in Orange County. And they have a great art program, which is what I always wanted to study. Like when I heard about art school when I was in high school and I was like, that's what I want to do. And my family was like, definitely not, And no. So I was like, well, I don't know what else I would study. I don't really care about anything else. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll be like a kindergarten teacher or something. So I was like, and I forgot about studying that until I recently moved and I found evidence of some type of preschool internship. And I was like, oh yeah, I was going to be a preschool teacher. Totally blocked it out. Glad I didn't do that. So I studied art. And my community college was great for that. My teachers were really supportive. Being from Michigan, I didn't know any professional artists. Did you guys? No, I know. It was
we grew up around auto workers.
Right. I know. We don't make that here, which is crazy because I think the diaspora of people that have left Michigan are all very creative people.
And also, I think if you're in the city, there's always been a killer art scene in Detroit itself or in Ann Arbor. But I know your high school you're from Northville or Novi or something, right?
Yeah.
So it's that's a whole other fucking world. That is a very kind of upper middle class at the time, probably very white. Now it's a large Indian population, and whatnot, but it's definitely not going to be where the artists and it's not where the Stooges were hanging out.
Well, not so spicy, but
right.
I mean, my teachers they're just so cute. They really were invested in me, which was so surprising because again, I was I'm not a good student. I didn't have any self-esteem. I was just I don't, why would they even pay attention to me? And then now that I'm teaching, I get it because I was so excited about learning this stuff. And I kind of obsessed over my projects and prioritized it and was really engaged, maybe more than inherently talented. There's a few different ways to be good at something, right? There's innate kind of intuitive stuff. And then there's experience and then there's effort. And I think it was a lot of effort. Yeah. And then they were you should get this art degree. And I was I can't, I can't go to art school. And they were well, there's this school called Cal State Long Beach where us and all these other art teachers that teach at private art schools around Southern California also teach there. And it's very affordable. It's I don't know what you know about the California public universities.
Alex, take it away.
I'm a Cal State grad myself.
Are you? From where?
Yeah, SF State.
Okay, cool. So Cal State is slightly more affordable, right? Than
the UC system. Yeah.
So they were just listen, it's public school, it's private art school education, public school prices, it's a secret, it's a hot tip, you know what I mean? Go check it out. So I went and checked it out and yeah, I really wanted to go. My grades were not amazing. So I was in community college for a little extra because of that. But then I think because of that, I was like so grateful to be there that again, I was sort of like obsessed with school, and then my teachers really liked me, and I was so excited to be there that I just like kind of talked to everybody and had this great experience where like I almost feel kind of guilty about it when I talk to people who didn't have a great college experience, you know, or like they felt lost or they didn't connect with people. And I think me just being like so surprised and happy to be studying art with like other people who care about that stuff, with like really great teachers, and grateful for any homework that had to do with art was like made it great for me. And then my teachers were like, you should be teaching just because you're like, you love talking to people and you are talented and like seem really engaged. And so when I learned that if you get an MFA, you can teach at a college level. And so I did it, and I had a great time getting my MFA. I recently saw some type of meme that was like, if you're friends with, or like if your graduate committee likes you, that means you're a psychopath. We have birthday parties together. Like we're still friends. Maybe I'm a psychopath, but, yeah, I had a great time. I fucking loved it. I like still love it. I'm a little bit, I feel sad when I meet people that didn't get to have that kind of experience for whatever. And like, you know, as a teacher, it's like, I might be the most pumped and hyperactive person in the room at any given moment, but like, then you like get a couple people that are into it too, and they're just maybe embarrassed to act like a weenie, and then they cut loose and make great work, and it's contagious. And then by the end of the semester, you have to like blow a whistle to get people to stop talking, and I love it. So the end.
When did you actually get your MFA?
2011. So.
Okay. And then what is your preferred medium within art? I mean, I've seen your cupcake work, obviously, but beyond that, I actually have no idea what you do.
Well, I studied illustration, and I think I was kind of a weirdo in that program because I'm really into any medium, like mixing things up and being really experimental. Whereas like, I think a lot of people who are illustrators kind of have one medium and like a look that comes from that. My thesis exhibition was like, happened to be at the same time. There's like 4 galleries on campus. And you like, your thesis exhibition is essentially like the big culminating event. You make a body of work for like 2 years. And then after it's over, you like write your document. And like most of the people, it was like drawings and paintings or like printmaking. There's a bunch of illustration grads all having their shows at the same time. And mine was like this like interactive, like fake museum with like audio headsets about like procrastination, and like everything was like a different medium, like a lot of dioramas, and then like, again, like some interactive stuff. And, it was kind of playful. Whereas like, I think a lot of people when they're getting their MFA are very like, to make a serious body of work. I think I went in thinking that too. And then it was like, you're wearing someone else's clothes. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm not going to make like 21 paintings that are like about, it's like,
Yes.
you know, be myself. And
Right.
part of that is like behaving like a pollinator and like not doing the same thing over and over again, and like finding ways to like experiment and move around, but also kind of tie things together. So yeah, my work is whatever it needs to be. Like I do a lot of album artwork just because of the people that we know. So, and the last 2 that I did, I was on like a painting kick for a while. Cause I think I don't know. I think this happens for any creative people where it's like, this went well. I'm sure that's what people want me to do. Or like, and maybe they'll tell you what they want you to do because people are not that creative. They'll be like, I saw this, I want that. And it's like, if you have the rapport with that person to say like, okay, but what if we did this? What if we did something special just for you? And then, you know what I mean? Kind of moving it forward. So I had been doing a bunch of paintings for a while, but not like feeling very connected with that practice or medium, and kind of like dragging my feet about it. And then I had just moved, right? So I had these 2 record covers coming up, and we had all of this like cardboard in the house and just trash, you know what I mean? And I was like, I'm just going to make like a 3D thing and try to use as much like trash and garbage as possible in it. And like, so I made like, do you know the band Hex Code? Have you heard them?
I do not.
Oh my God. It's my friends. They're my friends. But besides them being my friends, it's like the coolest fucking band in Long Beach. Like, they're so fucking cool. It's like dissonant, kind of terrifying and witchy, and like just like very moody, also driving, great live. So one of the covers was for them. And I was like, what's your dream? What's your vision for this body of work? You know, and Marianne, one of the singers, was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember this woman's name, but there's this famous woman who, like, in the field of forensic science, like to teach people to be better forensic scientists, made these very accurate dioramas of crime scenes and then like used them as like, okay, here's what's happening. What are we looking for? And this was maybe pre-1950s, I think. So I looked those up and they're fucking crazy, like really, and right up my alley. Like, I love a diorama and I love a weird, like, lady that changes history that nobody knows about. And like, so yeah, Marianne was like, this kind of a thing, but maybe about like a spell gone wrong. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, cool. So I made this little like scene, right? And like just photographed it. And there's like a little trick photography thing happening in there. But again, it was like, I just made a little thing, and a lot of it is lighting with something like that. And you know, those Philips Hue light that you can change with your phone? Mm-hmm. Those are great. So I had some of those. And I just had so much fun with that the next one I did was for this band called Soft Autumn, which is my friend Casey's cool solo project. And he wrote an entire record about like doing a tour up the coast during these like crazy wildfires. So he's like, yeah, like road trip with the wildfires. And so I don't think I bought any materials for it. It was all trash. And I made like this fun ass little diorama. And maybe the best thing about it is like they don't exist anymore. Whereas like all these paintings and things that I've done, it's like, all right, where do I put this? You know, it's just like dismantle this and put it in the circular file. So that's what's happening. I do have a painting going on for another record cover. And then I talked to the Smoking Popes about like a 3D thing for their, and they want to do a double gatefold, which I'm like, never done.
Pretty badass. You're in good company right there.
So yeah. And then I'm sorry, I'm like talking a lot, but this is an interview.
That's the idea. That's actually the point.
Can we? Yeah, and then I have a cake business. So that's kind of like, I consider that a medium more than like, I'm not a bakery. Like, you can't come by for like a sampling, and I don't have things like on hand, but I
think saying cake business is actually kind of selling yourself short, as far as like, it's all completely customized, like really just gnarly, like over the top cartoony sort of shit. You're making stuff for bands frequently if they're doing a sold out show at the wherever. Like, it's like, here's your sold out cake made by Jennie, you know? So it's definitely a fucking art form for sure.
Thank you.
Not just the Continental then, okay.
It is not.
Since we all get that, I'll throw that out there.
That's right. Columbia Avenue. I know Continental.
And nobody else
take me there.
Listening is going to get that.
But the Lakeview demographic will absolutely love this reference.
I think they're like, it's something between like an illustration and like a piñata. Like, it's like, it doesn't last and you must sacrifice it, but it's also like totally custom. And again, like the whole point for me is like, how wild can we make this before it's like not physically possible, or like, cause like gravity and butter are involved and like time is involved. So it's like, it's actually like a favorite medium of mine versus like, it's not really a cake business. It's like edibles, which are, so I like buttercream as a medium, but.
Did you make a Faygo cake for We Are the Union?
Uh-huh.
Speaking of the Michigan-California crossover, was it Rocket Rye or?
It was Rocket.
Classic.
We just recorded with Brandon Benson and Reed Wolcott.
Well, Benson's a legend. Yeah, Reed too. I've known those kids forever.
Yeah,
that's actually a great.
For Brandon.
Sorry, go ahead.
That cake was for Brandon's birthday. So
that checks out. We have the same birthday, actually.
Oh, well, happy birthday to you.
But that's actually a really good segue, I think, with talking about those folks, because we haven't talked music at all. Not really.
Nope.
So, I mean, I know you grew up mostly in Metro Detroit area. Is that where you started going to shows, or what was kind of your introduction to music in general?
Yeah, I mean, Pharaoh's. Have you ever been to Pharaoh's?
Where was that at?
It was a coffee shop in a strip mall in, like, I think Westland, maybe Garden City.
Alex used to live there.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're Canton.
I was in Canton, yeah.
Did you go to Pharaoh's?
No, I was like 10.
Okay. Yeah, it was a coffee shop, so it was an all ages, like, venue, punk space. You know what I mean? And like $3 and $5 shows, like, you know what I mean? So I saw like Good Riddance there, like you could come through on tour. So that was like the high school thing. And then also, do you know like the Fireworks guys or Half the Battle guys?
I've seen Half the Battle. They used to play, Alex, at Richland Community Hall up by our high school. So probably, it was, I mean, it's the same, there was that circuit of like, and like, I mean, like my first show was playing a rental hall. Alexander, your first show was playing some rental hall. And like, it was a common thing where it wasn't crazy to get a couple hundred kids. Like, you get class of 2004 to fucking show up, you know, and go off. And so, that was a scene. But Half the Battle, I remember, and Fireworks, I'm familiar with them. I never saw them, but I knew they were that very kind of pop punky, like double time kind of faux hardcore-y sort of scene.
They're
quite big.
So I went to school with the Half the Battles. There's just some dear friends of mine, and then Fireworks. Kyle, who I'm in Reckoner with now, is the bass player for Fireworks. Those guys all just like, because everyone was a kid, would like put together these shows, like you're saying, in like a VFW hall or like the basement of something. So that kind of a thing. And then also like a lot of shows at St. Andrews Hall were all ages. So yeah, just going to see the Suicide Machines and sick of it all. You know what I mean? Like, or the Shelter, right? Downstairs.
Right. Magic Stick.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I could go to the Stick. I left when I was like almost 19. So there wasn't a lot of like not all ages shows in my life there. And then when I go home and visit my parents, I always try to go see something. So last time I was home, I saw Prude Boys. Have you guys seen Prude Boys?
No, I don't know anything about them.
There's so much good music in Detroit. It's crazy.
I live in Detroit too. Yeah.
Right? It's like, I didn't realize, and maybe you knew this, but I didn't until I was in a band touring. I was like, why are we never going to Michigan? And it's like, because it is just a tiny bit annexed, like the fact that you have to dip in and then out, like it's an out and back, like no one goes.
If you're going to Toronto, it's en route for stuff. And I think it kind of comes in waves a little bit. Because I mean, Detroit, obviously has a pretty long music history, especially with like within punk rock. I mean, I would say we invented punk rock. Thank you, MC5. But
I think it's like its own. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's not on the way to anything.
Yeah.
It's a fucking peninsula. Yeah, for sure. So that happens sometimes. But so I'm wondering, like, were you playing in bands while you were going to these shows too? Or when did you actually start playing?
No, when I moved to California, I mean, I was like, I always played and wrote terrible teenage girl songs. I mean, I loved punk rock and that kind of a thing, but it was like, I feel like I was like a larva until I was like 24. Like, I don't know her, but, when I moved to California, I like brought my guitars with me and was like, maybe I'll have a band. And then I actually met these sweet boys in a band called Introspect, which like I think still exists. And they were like my first real friends. They are maybe, well, the label's disbanded, but they were on AF Records and like, it was like too weird for the time. Like people couldn't handle it. It was like old school punk and techno. But now like that home front is huge. I'm just like, man, intro's back for the head of its
like mindless self-indulgence sort of thing, or
it was like, you should check it out. Like I still think it's pretty cool, but and then just imagine it being 20 years ago and being like, yeah, people are they're not ready. So I was in that band with those guys, and like it was just really, it was so fun to be in like a band. I mean, I was definitely like kind of staffed. Like I didn't write anything. I was playing a keyboard, like, but yeah, just having friends and getting to go out places. That's like the best thing about being in a band is like, and I think about touring is like you show up somewhere and like there's, at least one place to go and one thing to do. And then you can ask questions from there. But like, it was great. So yeah. And then I kind of started writing more on my own and like had a little band that didn't do much. And then when I was in grad school, I found this like toy organ at a swap meet and took it to my best friend's house. And like, she's like an early internet adopter. Her name is Sarah Lyons. She's like the most famous illustrator I know. And she is now like a heavy hitter in the 29 Palms art scene. Like she owns a business and is on these like city councils and shit. But she was like, she put a cover that we did of Coxfire on YouTube and under the name Conspire, and like it so much traction that we got like asked to tour. We were like, we're not a band. We're like girls in a living room, like having a laugh here. And then we thought about it and we were like, okay, yeah, we'll learn 8 more Coxfire songs and like do this with you. So we did, and it was like, she's one of the funniest people I've ever met. So a lot of people talked shit on this band because this was pre-women support women internet. This was like definitely all the comments were either like, I think it was like 20% people being into it, and like the other 80% was like threatening like rape and violence because women, and like, so, but it wasn't attached to my email. And I was like, I scrolled down once on the thing and I was like, I never need to read this again. Like these people are, you know what I mean? Like say it to my face, but also yikes. And then, but Sarah got like all of it sent to her email. And I think it ultimately like turned her off of music entirely, which is really unfortunate to like lose somebody like that because of like internet bullshit. But still like we got to have free vacations. We played punk rock bowling, like, you know what I mean? Like, and people were either in love with it or mad about it. And I also have never been to a country where I didn't get asked about this part. So like, it's like,
so you're big in the European circuits or something?
Costa Rica, Australia, all of you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I've never been anywhere where it doesn't come up, and I forget about it for like months at a time, and then like it will surface. But again, like sometimes I think about like, God, I could write a paper about the way that we were treated. Also, like using the word cunt, you know what I mean? Like there's people that will not allow you to like find power in that. Like I remember we did this interview for like the OC Weekly, and this man came to my home for the interview, and like again, Sarah's like, she's the funniest person I've ever met. She's also the fastest and smartest person. Like I am in ruins when I am around this person because she's like, it's like a machine gun. Like she's so funny and she's so quick. Like it's shocking. And like, I mean, that was a lot of the show too. It's just, she's fucking hilarious. It's a comedy show with like songs that you can sing along with. I made this man tea. Like, you know what I mean? And then he publishes this article where he's just like, these dumb sluts, like, sir, I did not think that this was going to go that way. But he like couldn't, like, again, this was like, the internet was still very interested, and people in general were like, it's fine to treat women like absolute shit. Like, that's a punching bag. We can all get, like, go for it. No holds barred, because you're not racist. Like, fuck women, So yeah, that was pretty wild. And then, but then it's like, I I don't think those people even remember how they acted, you know? Like, I've met people later who, like, oh, this is funny. Okay, you know how all sorts of social media platforms and your phone now will be like, remember this? And you're like, I don't need to. So this woman like shared something on Facebook again, being like, oh, this memory, and like tagged me and Sarah in it. Like, oh, Campfire came up. And like, she didn't realize that like the reason she had shared it originally, like in the context of when it happened, was that she was like talking shit super hard about and being, this is why nobody likes girl bands. And I was like, lol, Katie, like, you know what I mean? I'm glad you don't feel this way anymore and that you like have no recollection of being a fucking misogynist, but like it is like, it is amazing. And then the amnesia, like I'm saying, that comes with it. Or like, I'm glad, you know, that you no longer.
You bring up an important point though and I think of, you know, and certainly I've been very guilty of like 20 years ago, like it was so normal. If you watch movies or like, there's so many things that seem cringy in my own words, like we would tell racist jokes. You know, or we would call people bitches or that. It's not that like I was a white supremacist. It's just like, oh, I'm so shocking. I'm so zany.
Cultural.
And it was a much more normal thing, you know, like racial or like homophobic slurs were just a normal part of the vocabulary, I feel, growing up as, you know, into my 20s,
like watch a 90s
probably.
movie. It comes up a lot.
Oh my God.
Like that's the way that we actually talked, and it's fucked up, you know, looking back on it, but it does. In a lot of ways, seems like while a lot of shit seems to be going the wrong direction, it's at least nice knowing, like, if you hang out with kids these days, like your students or any of our students, they're not, like, unless they're like the most far right-wing shit, like, they're not using, like, homophobic slurs openly, you know, like, sort of thing. Like, that shit is gone, at least for, it's gone down drastically.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I mean, it's like, it's great that, like I said, it's like, I love that you forgot that you said terrible things about me. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
That means you don't think them anymore. But it is kind of like, it's just interesting. But so the reason I bring that up was like, it was, I mean, I never meant for it to be anything, which is, I think, my entire musical career, is that it was like, oh, okay, I'll check this out. And something crazy happens. But, so in Kunstfire, we got booked with like Jen Carlson and Stacy D, who were in the Angry Amputees in San Francisco, and had both just moved down to like Southern California. And they were doing something called The City with this woman named Sharpak, who like is a fashion designer. She's famous. She also plays the fucking piano in a way that I've never seen anyone. Like, she shreds piano. So it's the three of them doing like acoustic, guitar, I think 2 guitars, acoustic, and then Shar on piano. And like, you know, when you see Stacy, even before you know her, you're like, you should know who this is, you know? So we were playing with them a lot and like got to be friends. And then Jen was like, I'm putting together this new band. Do you ever play electric guitar? And I was like, sure. So I went to practice, and it was BadCop. It was like Jen was the original mother of the band, and Stacy and Myra were there, and like we had a great practice and like wrote 2 songs, and then it was like, see you next week forever. And then really it was kind of like we were like not taking it seriously. Like it was kind of like the point will be free drinks and like having a hobby. And then I was working at Hurley. I had this great job that was like community outreach artist coordinator, which is like all the nice words. And it was like a dream job, really, like painting murals and like supporting famous and emerging artists and like curating art shows monthly with like local bands and vendors, and like just sick, you know, like so sick. Traveling. I worked with my best friend who's actually married to Sarah from Kunstfire now. Like, anyway, so fun. There was a recording studio there because it was like that dream corporation moment, right? Where it's like, we have a skate park. We have a recording studio. We have spray paint. You know what I mean? Like, come on down. kids. So, my friend Davey Warsop was the engineer in the recording studio, and it was free to use the studio. That was like a public service. So like Steven Adler would track drums, and then like they would also be like, the Lindas are coming, like before it was, you know what I mean? So everybody got to come in and use this like state of the art famous studio, like Fireworks actually came in. Anyway, so I brought BadCop in and we did like a 3-song EP, which still exists. Like that's like a self-released thing. I think T-Mom has it now, but, and working with Davey, he was like, can I suggest that you like kind of lean into the fact that you guys sing really well together and that there's like melodic hooks instead of you writing this weird annoying song structure shit where like I love, I'm not actually into pop stuff. I just have the wrong voice to not be into pop stuff. So we took his advice and I think it made a much better band. And then that was kind of it from there. But
what year was this?
2012. Like I joined band. I graduated in 2011. I joined the band. Band happened 2011. And then 2012, I think I was at Hurley and we put out that EP.
When did you accidentally get signed by Fat Records and wind up on a bunch of really huge tours with your favorite bands?
Yeah. Okay. So we had just recorded another 4 songs with Davey at Hurley. And I was like, I had put out the first record, like with my money. And I was kind of like, I don't want to do it again. Like, I don't have the money to do this again. You know what I mean? Like, and I was just kind of like annoyed about it. And like, it was like, yeah, we got this stuff, but I was just like, oh my God, I need another few hundred, couple $1,000. Yeah, I'm 20, whatever. Like, and the other one had just been like, 2 years. Anyway, so I was kind of sour about it. And then so Conspire played with a lot of like female bands, but also a lot of like queer bands. My friends in the Bay Area, I think it was, what was it? Something Sleep. My friend Vinny, fuck, I am sorry, I have to get back to you. His band is no longer, but it was like a cute little gay guys doing a duet. And then also this like bear drag band called Muñecas in San Francisco. Like, so they were doing, I think it was called like Bear Fest or something like that. And they were like, would you guys want to come up? So it was like a Conspire connection. And I was like, of course we would like to come and play your like drag show, So I bought a bunch of mustaches because it's a drag show. And, we drove up and it was at Truck, which I think just reopened, but it's a very, very hot, very gay bar. Like there's like diamond plate and jock straps are like the aesthetic. So we like showed up, drove straight up and like, dropped off the gear and then, went to our friend Krista's house to like change out of our van jammies or whatever. And we go back to the venue. There had been a fire upstairs apparently, in the time that we left. And so there was like firemen and like all these like hilarious gay men like roasting the firemen. You know what I mean? Like it was like a scene, So I was like, are we still going to play? And they were like, everything's fine. The fire was upstairs. Show's still on, like, sexually harassing firemen. So that was really a big start to it. And then the show was like wild and rowdy. And like there were, I think, 2 women there that weren't us. Like it was very gay. And like my brother's gay and like his husband was there and they were just like, this is wild even for us. It's like, what that's happening? And like, yeah, it was crazy. After us, there was a drag performances that were like really extreme and edgy and so fun. And like, so Stacy had been working with Fat Mike on the musical for fucking ever. And we were teasing her all the time and being like, are you going to show this to Mike? Are you going to show Mike your band? And she was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like he gets this all the time. I'm not going to bother him about this. And then it was in San Francisco, and I think Soma found out about it. This is when they were married, that we're playing this like fun ass show. So like they came, and at the end of the set, like during the drag stuff, Mike was like, well, do you guys have anything recorded? And I was like, yeah, we have 4 songs like mastered that I am not putting out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing, you know, and he's all, send them to me. And I was like, okay, whatever, you know. So I did. And then like we had a fun rest of the weekend. And then like I go back to work and I'm like driving home from painting some wall or whatever. And Stacy calls me and she's like, Mike wants to put it out. Mike wants to put out the EP. And I was like, just fucking see. So that's how that happened.
So you were already at a terminal degree prior to ever like playing in a real like kind of touring band in any capacity.
Oh yeah, I do everything backwards. I'm gonna father a child when I'm like 65.
Checks out.
Yeah.
So then, did you guys pretty much hit the road instantly? Of like, because you were on a lot of pretty fucking major tour.
We toured a lot on our own before that, like because it's like everyone had a little bit of something to give. Like I had a lot of Kunstbar stuff, and Stacy and Jen had been touring a lot. They toured in the Angry Amputees, like, you know, so it was like there's like leftover connections and like friends bands. So like we could get up and down the coast and then down the next aisle, right down to like Arizona, Texas, whatever, without anyone's help. And then I don't remember what order things happened, but Stacy had a pretty bad drug problem, like the whole time that we were going. And like, it was sort of like the only thing in our way, like, which was crazy because it's like, she's so important, you know, and special. And like, it's like, we can't do this without you, you know, but we really need you to like show up and like not fuck it up. And that was like pretty hard for a while. Also, Jen Carlson like left the band maybe a year in, and then Lynn joined, and Lynn was very like, yeah, I want to do this, you know. So we were all kind of sloppy, like, again, because it was like, it just didn't seem like, it wasn't a professional thing at that point. It was like subsidized, but you know, it was like, we're here to get drunk, you know, like, and like do bad things out of town. So, and we did, and it was fun and crazy. And then we put out our first full length, and my job was like kind of winding down. Like we'd gone to Europe on the Fat, you know, sponsorship, not money, but like basically endorsement. You know what I mean? Like as soon as something came out on Fat, people were like, do you want to come to Europe? And I was like, sure.
Yes.
So that was good. It's like, it's such an endorsement, like, which is so funny to me that like, that can exist, you know, like just
especially in Europe.
Oh my God. Yeah. They have such a hard on for Fat Wreck Chords. It's great.
It pays my bills. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. But it is like, wow, you know, but, so I ended up leaving my job because I was like, we're going to be on tour all summer with like this Fat 25 years tour, blah, blah, blah. And also like, I'm kind of getting over it. Like, I think I was getting some cool freelance and like, just like, I don't know if I want to have a full-time job kind of a thing. So I left my job and we went on the 25-year Fat Records anniversary tour, and like it exploded almost immediately because it was like Stacy and Mike were like partying super hard, and then like it was like bad for the whole tour. Like Kent would be like, come and collect Stacy, like, you know what I mean? Get her out of the bus because she and Mike are on one. And I was like, okay, like, you know, and then that was like unmanageable for like us because it was just like we didn't have a tour manager. It was just like, you know, and yeah, it was a nightmare. It was like the worst interpersonal ongoing situation I think I've ever been in. I've been really fortunate not to like have a lot of like drug issues in my, you know what I mean, with like relationships in my life, but that was like, I was like, what am I doing? I can't, you know? And then she ended up like, she had to be like put into rehab like mid-tour, and like so we were just like, I guess we're going home, and then that was like necessary, but also like really difficult. And like, it was a mess, it's always a mess for everybody involved. And then she got sober, which is great. And like came back a completely different person with like some really good ideas about like not talking shit and like, on top of not taking drugs and like just trying to be positive. And it's like, that person is very like influential. And like when the fan is set to good, right? It's like, versus when the fan is set to like smog and psychic pollution, like the effect is like palpable either way. So that was really good. And we were able to do a lot more and like write kind of better songs. Like before that, we were kind of writing like bitchy, immature, like, I would write mean songs. And it's like, now I think about it and it's like, shame on you. How dare you write a prayer like that? I would never sing this again because it's like, why would I put that out there? So yeah, that was good for the band and good for Stacy. And like, yeah.
So there were 3 albums, like full lengths that you were on?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you guys got the tour you were doing when you mentioned that Fat tour. That was what you were doing Japan and you were doing Europe a bunch of times.
But we did do like international with the Punk and Drublic stuff.
Yeah. I remember meeting up. But yeah, so I mean, you got some pretty fucking wild travels and playing. And a lot of times when you're playing these shows and these packages too, it's not like you're paying for 12 people in a shitty basement. Like you were on some fucking killer slots for your first time in Europe.
Yeah. My new band we don't play a lot and like we got offered this show at Alex's bar and like they gave me a flyer and I was like, okay, cool. So we're like middle of the show and then I get the run of show and we're opening and I was like, well, I didn't see that coming based on the flyer and based on like everyone's resume, but okay. Based on the fact that one of these bands played last night in the same venue, you know what I mean? So we opened that show and I was like, the last time I opened anything, it was for like 5,000 people. This is humbling. Like, so. You
got to do that sometimes, because you do have some cred on this, but it's a whole new endeavor sort of thing,
Yeah.
Alex that's a cool venue. I mean, that's good. 400 for the cap room. A lot of.
I've never been treated like this at Alex's. Like,
yeah, and motherfucker is what you should have said when you walked in the door.
Like context is everything. I gotta say, I'm not being stalked or harassed anymore now that I'm not on camera. It's crazy. I feel safe.
Yeah.
People leave me alone online. It's cool.
But so you've been out of BadCop for a few years now and you've been teaching for most of that time, or how did that kind of transition happen? Are you getting into that?
Yeah. Well, right after I graduated, when I finished my degree, I was like, I would teach like a class, you know what I mean? And then, when the band got busier, I went to Fest mid-semester and like drove out to Fest and like toured there and back. And my friend who also teaches like covered for me in the university found out and they were like, you can't just like
can't drive to Gainesville, Florida.
You can't just leave and like staff your class. Like I was like, oh, okay. So then I just was like, maybe I shouldn't be teaching because we have this tour or that tour. And like, so I kind of stopped for a while and then my friends would try to offer me stuff. They're like, do you want to do next fall? And I'd be like, no, we're doing 2 months with Frank Turner. So I can't like, so then when I was out of BadCop, I was at a birthday party and everyone there's a teacher and they were like talking about like some mural class they were having the next semester. And I was like, you guys have a mural? And like, they're like, yeah, it's new. And I was like, I helped every one of you paint your first mural. Like, I did this professionally. Like, why would you not like call me about this? And they're like, because you're never home. And like, like we've called you about teaching for like the last 7 years and you always have something going on. And I was like, but I'm not in the band anymore. Like, I want that class. And they were like, okay, well, we can't give it to you. It's already staffed, but like, we'll we'll talk about it later. So I got it last semester, but after that, I've been teaching there. I was, full-time, almost full-time.
Where is it that you were teaching?
I teach in the illustration department. So I teach this.
I mean, what's the university?
Oh, Cal State Long Beach.
Okay. So it's your alma mater. Is that how you say that? Alma mater?
Or no. Elmer.
The school you went to.
Leader, something like that. Yeah. So I teach a class called rendering, which is like, it's an old class. It like predates that, meaning anything about digital stuff. And it's like how to make things look real and convincing. And like, it's also kind of like a survey of traditional media. So we do all different paints and pencils and papers and blah, blah, blah. And the whole time I'm like, this is how your shadows should work. And then I teach the second of 4 required illustration classes. And then I get like a wild card every semester. So this time it was like the BFA senior show, which was a piece of cake. Last semester was that mural class. It's so fun.
Is it mostly undergrads? So, like, I don't know how the MFA, like, it's Alex in the hard sciences and I'm from the medical field. So it's a whole different fucking world. So like, how does that exist on, like, do you do mostly undergrads or you do the MFA students as well? Or?
Well, my classes, the 2 that I get every semester so far that are the same are undergrad, but like technically any classes are open to graduate students. Like, so if you came in with like a library sciences degree and you want to be like a sculptor, right? And you got into this program based on your work, then like you could take any undergrad art program class that you want. I haven't had any grad students in those classes, but I did teach like the graduate like seminar class where they're making their own work and you're just like their accountability buddy, and give them a grade. That was really fun, but I think it was a little too close to COVID. Everybody was very like estranged from their practice and kind of like disillusioned and like just not quite there. So like halfway through the semester, I became an asshole and I was like, this is our schedule. You need to have this much done by next week. Write it down. You have 8 weeks. What are we doing every week? What's the goal? Okay, let's back it out. I'm going to see you next week and I better see 8 fucking spreads for this book. Like, and they were mad, but like, I think it worked.
I thought you were cool, man.
No, I'm not. That's the thing. Yeah. Surprise.
I'm guessing the MFA is more of a sort of a project focused at the end, or like how does that work? Like what is your final product as opposed to say a dissertation that we would have to do?
Yeah, it's like a body of work. It's like a focused body of work. So like at least at Cal State Long Beach, you spend like a year kind of like, there's always like reading and writing and theory stuff. And then like, there's always, you have like some type of independent study where it's like you make work and you talk about it with like other peers and some type of faculty member. And then, again, you can like take anything. So like I took this crazy sculpture class where the teacher was like, I don't want any dilettantes. And I was like, listen up, I'm going to fucking use this. You watch. I'm not an interloper. Or just like, yeah. So you can take like undergrad classes that would inform your practice. Hopefully, like I did a lot of painting and then also fucked around with animation. And that was just a dead end road for Jennie. That is not right for my patience and temperament. And like, I do not like sitting down. So I learned that. And then towards the end of your degree, it's like you're doing less like class stuff and you're just focusing on this body of work. And you're like, you take credits with your graduate committee where like they meet with you periodically and like give you feedback and criticism and like kind of try to challenge you to develop this body of work. So I think I worked on my show for like a year, which is pretty crazy. I've never worked on anything that long in my life. And then, there's supposed to be like intention and like you need to write a thesis about this that accompanies it. But it's kind of like a lot of times people have to file some type of extension because it's like it's hard to write about it until it exists and like been installed and received and like, yeah. So there's writing, but it was like less than 20 pages. You know what I mean? It's like really about the work.
Where does that go? Where does that thesis go? I mean, like with a thesis in engineering or something, they put it in a book and it's on a shelf somewhere in the library. Is it kind of the same thing?
It is. It's in the thesis office. It's like, I'm kind of bummed that my show kind of predated like high quality camera, like, you know, personal cameras. Like, so I have like terrible photos of this show, like on some type of encrypted hard drive that like, I don't know if the library has them, but it's not like, it should be online, but like, I don't know that there's anybody doing that. I have met a couple graduate students in the time since that talked to me about my work that I was like, I don't know how you saw that. Cool. But like, yeah, okay. I should have just asked. We'll see.
Now, is there much emphasis? I mean, with a research-based degree, there's a lot of emphasis, or at least not necessarily a requirement, but you have to, it's often expected that you publish it in some kind of research journal, some kind of journal articles or something like that. Is there a similar kind of emphasis with the MFA? Are they pushing you to get your work out there in other places, or is there some other, there's a sort of a show within the university and that's it?
I don't think, so the illustration program is like, I mean, it's technically commercial arts, right? It's a communication arts. It's like, it's a little different than like, like a gallery based degree where it's like, I, the artist, make the thing and then you receive it and perhaps purchase it or experience it, or even it turns into like a stand-in for money. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, so I don't know if those programs encourage their students to like do something with the work. I know a lot of the people I graduated with in the illustration program did show their work and probably sell some of it in galleries after the fact. But like my work was like not commercial in any way. It was like an installation experience, like event kind of a thing. Like I have pieces of it, but it's like, and they are cool on their own, but it's like a lot of it isn't, because it was like a linear narrative experience that like almost like a mini putt, but like with a story to it, you know? So yeah, I don't know. They didn't, it was like file your thesis, write your paper, and then see you later for me. But like I said, I don't know if other programs.
And they did see you later?
Yeah, see you later.
Every Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, so have you found, since you used to teach some before you started like really hitting the road a lot, you know, coming back now, like, do you feel those sort of experiences have changed you as a professor? Like now you're coming in, you're like fucking road warrior Jennie, not just like I played a few gigs down California coast Jennie?
Having so much fun and experiencing what I got to with music, I think has obviously, like, I think it's made me a better person. And also like, I mean, you can't travel and meet people and not get better for that. Right. Like,
right.
And also I feel like it was really good for me to like feel received well. You know, obviously there are people say terrible things about you if they can see you. They will say terrible things about you, but like, although if you like put out anything, they will say terrible things about you. But it's like, there are other people that like are into it. And like, you can, you know, learn that like, oh, that's cool that you felt to this thing like that. It's hard for me to be like, people are terrible and the world is full of shitheads. Like knowing that like, I've had pretty cool conversations with people everywhere I've been. I mean, and there've been assholes everywhere too, but like, I can't just be like, boo, humans, you know, like, because it's not true. So I think that was really helpful for me, like just as a person to like feel at peace most of the time, you know? And I think also coming back to teaching after doing a lot of that, it's like, I never felt uncomfortable in front of people, but like, it's really not an issue. Like I talked to some of my friends who teach and they're like, oh, I just hate standing in front of people. And I'm like, it is not a big deal. Like people threw things at me before. Like it's fine. These kids are not going to throw beer or like yell slurs at me. Like we're going to be okay.
That makes a lot of sense. I think in the third episode we had, it was Royce from the Suicide Machines. So another Michigander, but him talking, he's a lawyer, but like when he went to law school, he said like his mock trials, he was like, I won year after year because these people are scared to talk in front of 20 nerds. I'm used to fucking playing for thousands of people. Like you ain't shit, by comparison.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's like, I think everybody deserves to and should do some type of like rock camp. You know what I mean? Like, and also like, I think art in school is for real. Like people need to like make something ugly, access their creativity, explore, play, use their hands. And then with the music stuff, it's like all that stuff plus collaborating, like all this people trashing group projects all the time and being like the memes of like pallbearers lowering. Like I want my
down one last time.
This project to be my pallbearer so they can let me down one last time. Like it's like you need to be on a team. I mean, team sports is kind of the same thing. Like people need to like experience these things where like you are maybe exposed or like, people are looking at you because you shouldn't be afraid of these things. Like it's not healthy, I don't think, or good for you to like hide and, feel the need to be like in a womb all the time where no one can see you. Like you need to be out, be seen, see others, like make noise, hear other people's noise, work together, be uncomfortable, like connect with your sparkly little brain in there instead of just like consuming. Like I have to say I'm coming up against something now that I'm teaching and like some of my students are of the age where like they've been, screened, where it's like, here's your thing. Don't make noise, be good in the restaurant, just watch the thing. You know what I mean? And like I'm coming up against like there's like problem solving skills that are missing because you've been just consuming instead of like playing and like, you know what I mean? So like during a critique, I'll be like, this doesn't work. Like that doesn't read. And then they'll say like, well, what should I do? And it's like,
fucking figure it out.
What do you think you should do? What are some ideas of what you could do? And there's like, which is fucking crazy. Like it's fucking crazy to lose that as people. So like, I do think, okay, I'm on a tangent, but like I love teaching and then seeing this gap with 20-year-olds is like, and then also knowing what's happening to like grade school creative programs and play. I'm just like, I kind of been fantasizing and scheming about like a way to like engage younger people, maybe like extracurricularly, like free shit where it's like, come play, use your hands, problem solve, like build something, have it fall apart, try to fix it. You know what I mean? Like, let's measure things. Let's use motor skills and like your body, like think and connect and like make little new pathways in your brain. Because I don't want to meet you when you're 20 and you can't problem solve something or even begin to problem solve something that's as simple as like, what's a different typeface you could have used here? Like it's crazy. So,
right.
Yeah.
We're especially, I think, from, so you don't know Alex's story, but he was on tour for years doing kind of this like, fucking what kind of crunchy punk hippie sort of sideshow band thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it was, those are all accurate. Yeah.
But it's like, whatever, you got 20-something people living in a fucking bus together. Yeah, I mean, me, I've been tour managing for years sort of thing where it's like we're privileged at this point, I think, being like middle-aged here where it's like, if I'm on tour, nobody's from the same fucking country as me. Like they don't speak the same language at home. Like there are so many things that you learn from interacting with people that are so completely different than you. And especially working in Europe where it's like, if I'm at a festival, it's like, there are 20 different languages being spoken around me right now. Like it's an absolutely wild. That's so normal to me though, but it's, I assume some of your students, if you're from whatever, Fullerton and you went to Long Beach or whatever, like you've never left the Orange County, besides going to a Dodgers game one time or some shit. Like it's definitely, and then you throw in the fact that you haven't like, you didn't go play as a kid. Like we would go play, kick the can with the neighbor kids or whatever. And you learn how to interact in a whole different way than just that,
Field trips. That's another thing that like, so when I was in high school, did you guys have a program called SWAP? Was that a thing on the western side of the state?
We weren't involved in anything.
Okay. This was like a day camp in the summer for at-risk, like middle school kids. And it was the most amazing model I have ever experienced until the rock and roll camp for girls. But it was like 5 days a week, school length day, right? Starts at like 8 a.m., ends at 3. And they would have like, you know, a block of time and then a lunch break and then another block of time. And every day there was group therapy, like small group therapy. And then the other block would either be like a theater therapy group thing or art therapy. So they do those two things. They do therapy every day. Then they do theater and art 2 days a week. And then Fridays were field trip days where like, it was like, sometimes it's a museum and then sometimes it's like the recycling plant. Like it was amazing. And I was like they had like adults, you know what I mean? And then they also had like every person working had like a peer volunteer, you know what I mean? Like a peer counselor or whatever. So I was in high school just like to kind of transition the like gap to adult because a lot of these young people had like issues with like communicating and connecting with adults. So like having some type of intermediary like made it like a softer rapport. It was amazing for everyone even working there. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it's like some people just they can't get themselves somewhere. So like having a field trip is really important. Like a lot of my students right now don't drive, which is wild to me coming from Michigan, where it's like, do you want to go anywhere? You need a driver's license. Like, you know, but then I don't think they're going anywhere. Like I'll ask about like, have you guys been to this museum? Because there's a million great museums around and they'll just be like, you know, which is like, do I need to rent a van right now? Like, go. Swap. People need more.
At Yale, I had a situation because I would meet people from, you know, fucking wherever. Somebody said like they're from Atlanta. I'd be like, oh, cool. You ever go to Masquerade? Like, no. And like you're from Detroit. You ever go to, you know, CNU? Like, never heard of it. And it's like, it was a mind blowing thing that like people haven't seen bands, you know, or like that hasn't shaped somebody's entire persona as we're middle-aged professionals. We're still that shithead 14-year-old at a fucking rock and roll show in a hall, like at heart. You know, it's weird to think that some people, probably most people, that's not their experience.
Well, yeah, because it does seem like I'm sure you guys feel this way, but I'm just like in my head, I'm like, everybody has a band. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you? Yeah, like, it doesn't have to be a good band. Like, but everyone has a band, right? And then I'm like on dating apps right now, and that is, I'm gonna admit, demoralizing. But at the same time, I'm just like, somebody will be like, I'm into live music, and then you look, and then it's like EDM. No, I'm not going to go see that. Like, what, you know, what are you seeing live? Are you buying $80 tickets? Do you ever go to just like a show?
Right.
Yeah. It's weird.
That's wild.
Not everybody has a band, turns out.
Speaking of you having a band, this is the perfect segue, I think, to kind of close out. So tell me about your current band, and this is more of a thing that you're just kind of doing, like, more just kind of doing some weekender sort of shit, like while you're still you're professional as fuck, and then you're a rock and roll star on the weekends now, or what?
I wish it was on the weekends. We're not as active as I would really like to be. That's like a point of disagreement in the band, but it is because everybody's like grown. Like, I don't know. I was going to say maybe you know this guy, but I don't think so. So our guitar player is this guy, Sven Wallwork, who I met because he asked me to sing on a record of his. He's like this Swiss guy, and he's like I don't think he would laugh if I said this, but he's like a big musician in Switzerland, and like his wife is an actor, so they live in Los Angeles now, and we are good friends. And like when we were getting stuck in Europe during like the closing of the aperture during the beginning of COVID with Make War, he and his wife were like, do you need to come to our house and like make a plan? Because like borders were closing and like shows were getting moved and canceled, and like, you know, it was pretty wild. And then we had like the day after we went to their house, it was like, if you don't come home now, you can't come into the country. He's a good friend. Every time I've ever been to Europe, we would get together, and like, he's a great musician. So he moves to LA. He's not allowed to work because his wife has the visa. And, every time they would come to California, we would hang out. And, so we got together, and he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, oh, buddy, you're going to be in like 100 bands. It's LA. Like, you know, so he's in two, but he's also like writing music with other people. But, yeah, he's so talented. He's like so easy to get along with, like just a beautiful person. And like, we had like a real talk a couple weeks ago where he was like, hey, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but like, Americans are really flaky. Like, you guys say you're going to do one thing and then nobody follows through on it, or like no one responds to these things. And I was like, it's be cultural, like, but it doesn't have to be. Thank you for saying this. Like, I don't want to suck, you know, like, so he's great. So he plays guitar. He shreds guitar. It's crazy. He's so good. It's like, when we were recording or whenever we're writing, I'll be like, you know, something kind of like, blah, and then he'll be like, oh, you mean, you know what I mean? Just like, make a wish. He can play it. And then like, you can make subtle adjustments to, he's like AI. Like,
just adjust
like
your prompt a little.
Yeah, shred GPT, I guess. But, and he's got a beautiful voice, like, I don't know, and a good attitude. I just adore him so much. And he's a great dad. He's got this wild child that like, he's just parenting so well. And then Kyle, one of my oldest and dearest friends, who was in Fireworks. So a Michigan boy also from Livonia.
And Fireworks were quite, I mean, I know they had toured like what, Set Your Goals and like the Swellers and like, what like fucking 4 year, like some pretty massive, like Newfound Glory, like that whole scene. Yeah. So they were pretty big.
I don't think they've ever done a not big tour. Like,
right.
He was my first friend to be like a rock star. Like, it was like, hands on a plane with Slipknot right now. Like, it was just flying to Australia. Oh my God. Like, he like got the koala photo first, you know?
Yeah,
and I was like, you can hold a koala if you're a rock star? This is fucking crazy. So we didn't see him for like 15 years, right? Because it was like Fireworks was just so busy. Like, I'd see them on tour, and then he moved out to LA before the pandemic, but we didn't see each other a lot because I was gone all the time. And we like jammed once when we were both in Michigan, like for a holiday, and it was good, you know? So we've always been kind of like, we should have a band one day. And, so we do now. And he's like, he's one of like the funniest, most playful, easygoing, like silly in the best possible way people that I've ever met in my life. Like, it's like, I think you could be in jail with Kyle and it would be fun. Like, he's just like, he's also really playful with his writing. Like, he does improv, and I don't know if that's part of it. Like, he'll show up with like nothing, but he's like warmed up. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's like, he'll be like, what if we do this? And it'll be something that I can't wrap my head around. But then when I figure it out, it's amazing and like special and unexpected. And, yeah, he's just like a real treat. It's so fun, you know, and also feel very comfortable with him. I cry almost every time I talk to him about something.
Sensitive Midwesterners just listening to sensitive Midwest emo. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, you got to stop listening to Bear vs. Shark when you hang out, and you'll not cry as much.
Yeah, he's like a very, very, very dear person to me, and like really fun to play music with. So that's like a long time coming, kind of a dream. And then my drummer is like another favorite person of mine, like a best friend, and like, I just really admire them so much. It's my friend Candace Hanson, and I met them. They put on like a pool festival back in the Kunstbar days. It was called Girl Fair with a bunch of R's in it. And it was like free, community based, like super inclusive thing in Santa Ana. Like, they're from Orange County. I was living in Orange County for a long time. We were like a block away from each other, and like, They also ran the rock and roll camp for girls, Orange County, which is really when I got to see like how amazing they are with like leadership and education and like patience and like community building, you know, like all these beautiful things that like within our patriarchal existence, right? It's like we revere people that like get shit done and like make tough calls and make money. And it was like, this person is like, yes, the leader of this, but not in an egomaniacal way. Like it's like a gentle, like support system versus like a CEO, you know, like making it work, but like almost in invisible ways and like facilitating things for others. And they also like, they're finishing a PhD too, which like, if you want a real smart person, I can give you Candace's number. But like a journalist, like that, you know, award-winning journalist, like writing about like music and culture and like queer issues and like, just like, I don't know, I'm constantly like, they'll be like, hey, check out this thing I just did. And it's like, I fucking know you. And I talk to you like almost every day. And when did you have time to like whip this other fucking thing up or like, you know, do this important ass? It's crazy. It's crazy. They're just amazing. It's like, I don't know. We all have people in our lives that it's just like, I don't know how you do it, but you are like the sparkliest, shiniest, busiest, most inspiring, and also just an incredible, wild, weird drummer. Like they teach music theory and like they really are wild on the drum kit. Like when we've recorded things, a lot of people will be like, I don't know if that was on time. And then it's like, you listen back and it's like, it's on time. It's just fucking wild. Like once the rest of this is here, you'll be like, oopsies. That was just some next level shit.
Work. That's
It's
fucking
really,
right.
yeah. I've never worked with a drummer that writes from like we were writing in the studio and like just at band practice and like everyone was mentioning things to like be like, you know, kind of like this. And Candace pointed out, they were like, so let me get this straight. Everyone's from a punk rock background and all of the references that just came up were the element, water, Sun Ra, Tegan and Sarah. I was just like, you're right. Like those, it's just really, there's a lot of like laughing about us all being like old punk people and like being through the same kind of system that we all, you know, like, and similar experiences, and then just really trying to do something different because we did that and we enjoyed that stuff, you know what I mean? But it's like very much like, well, what if we did it this way just because we did it that way so long? And it's been really like experimental and cool. And we keep working with different engineers. And like I said, we worked with Reed Walcott and Brandon Benson last. That was really fun.
Brandon Benson, who also worked for the Insane Clown Posse, just to throw that out there, and his second cousin is Jack White.
Is that true?
That is a fact. That is a true statement. Ask Benson about it next time you see my birthday, bud. But I think that's it. We're going to link that up. We'll take a listen, but let's close it out.
So here are our final 3 questions. We've been asking these to everybody. Call it continuity or call it what you will, but the first one of which is, what are your desert island albums? So you get a handful of albums. You're stuck on the desert island. This is all you got to listen to. What do you bring?
Get Happy by Elvis Costello. Out of the Blue by ELO. Too Far to Care, old 97s.
That album is so fucking good. That is such an underappreciated band. I finally got to see them last spring. Phenomenal.
They're coming to Pappy and Harriet.
I saw they just announced the West Coast. Yeah.
I have an alarm set for tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My dog is barking about it. I don't remember the name of it, but there's a Timber Timber album with the TP on it. That's on there. What else?
You rattled a few off so quickly. I thought,
well,
she was ready for this question.
You know what I mean?
ELO and Old 97 are no-brainers, but where do you go from there, you know?
Oh, yeah. Fuck. These are the records that don't get put back. You know what I mean? They're just always on top.
Totally fair.
Yeah, I'll probably leave it there because if nothing else is jumping out at me, I'd be okay with those 4.
Now, a second question. What is a band that you think is highly underrated, or a band that a lot more people should know about that they don't right now?
Right now, like a current band?
It could be a current band. It could be an old band. Just a band that people should be more into now.
I mean, I guess I feel like I'm so estranged from like what is popular. Nothing I like is popular.
Perfect. And what's one of those bands is not popular that you think is the shit?
That's like not hyped. Well, I think they just broke up, but Stuck, or they're done or something. But like fucking this band Stuck from Chicago is like, it's perfect. And I got to see them at Permanent Records, which is like a little spot out here. And I was like so pumped about it. This was like, I think it was like, sorry, but it was last year. And I was like, who's going to Stuck? And everybody's like, who? I went by myself. They were amazing. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to see Homefront tomorrow, which I think people are pretty into, but then I have an extra ticket and I was kind of like, huh, and everybody's like, I don't know. But, I would say they're not underrated. They're just like, people don't know yet, but Hex Code, my friend's Veronica's band, amazing. So cool. Got to see it live. Scary.
Awesome. All right. Final question. What's the last thing you listened to?
Well, I listened to your podcast.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Nice try.
I was doing my research.
Music. Let's go music.
Yeah,
okay.
music.
Well, I keep listening to, there's this song, Joy is a Crime by the Soft Kill, that like is perfect. So I keep waking up with that in my head and playing it and then letting it rip the algorithm from there. I don't think I love everything that they do, but that song is like,
You're just listening to a bunch of shit I've never heard of that I need to go check out after this.
check it
I gotta
out.
research now.
So
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, yeah, I
we
think
have
that
a
wraps it
song coming
up.
out Friday. You guys should listen to that. A new song. Yeah, there's a new Reckoner song out on Friday. That's what you
Sick.
can listen to.
by the time this comes out, that will be out and we'll link it up. So
Okay.
that works. So
Thank you.
sounds like a plan.
All right,
All right,
Jennie,
well,
thank you
cheers.
so
So we
much for
can-
being here and talking to us.
Yeah, thanks,
That's
guys.
right.
Nice
Let's
to
go
talk.
Lions.
Go Lions.
Let's go
Blues.
Lions.
Okay.
Cool.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Punk Rock Academic. We hope you're as inspired as we are by the incredible stories from the punk rockers revolutionizing higher education. If you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow rebels. Stay tuned for more tales of academic anarchy and keep the DIY spirit alive. Until next time, keep rocking and never stop learning.